Sean here to tell you a little bit about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuba is a small island nation in the Caribbean Sea. It's only about 90 miles off the coast of Florida. In 1959, Fidel Castro overthrew the previous government and became the leader of Cuba. Castro promised his people free elections and reform, but he didn't keep his promises. He decided Cuba would become a communist country, and he accepted aid and support from the Soviet Union. During this time in history, called the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union were bitter rivals. One day in 1962, a U.S. plane spotted Soviet missiles in Cuba. President Kennedy told the American people that there were Soviet missiles in Cuba, and he even had the pictures to prove it. President Kennedy acted quickly. He ordered the Navy to block off Cuba because he wanted to stop the Soviets from delivering any more missiles. But more importantly, he told the Soviets that he would fire back if they decided to use any of those missiles on the United States. This situation of hostility has become known as the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it lasted for 13 days in October of 1962. So how did it end? Well, the Soviet Union's leader, Nikita Khrushchev, told his ships to keep carrying missiles to Cuba, but after hearing President Kennedy's threat, he backed down and his ships turned around. In the end, the United States and the Soviet Union reached an agreement, and the threat of a war between the US and the Soviets was avoided. The Soviet Union agreed to remove all their missiles from Cuba. However, the Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev lost a lot of support in his country after this event, and he was eventually removed from power. This has been Sean, and I hope you now know a little bit more about the Cuban Missile Crisis.